Hey, shalom, shalom, saints. It's Pastor John Tatum. I'm here hanging out with the Prince. He's gonna help me do some gutter work on the new building, on the new gathering place. And I said, man, while we're driving, we might as well talk a little bit like we normally do. So we'll let the audience in on what we're talking about. We were dealing with the whole idea of building our world and building a world for the saints of the Most High. Not just building a community. You know, a lot of people build communities, a lot of communities, people building that. But building our own world, our own infrastructure, our own things that we can begin to, work and barter and have a system among ourselves. So I don't know no better person who could talk about this subject but the man that is sitting there right next to me. Come on, talk to us a little bit about that, Prince.
Shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters. How are you today?
Man.
I'm here with the mighty Pastor Tatum.
Hallelujah.
He'll make me do some stuff.
Hey, we got to, man. We got to.
So we're talking about, and we've been talking about, building our own world. When we look at the conditions that exist, it begs that we do something for ourselves.
Yes, sir.
We were having some discussions the other day, and just to help you all sort of cross over, if you have a chance to cross over, we're just going to give you this little bit of knowledge. We have some friends who in the Army, and we're in the intelligence division of the Army. So what they did in their discussions was to corroborate what we have been teaching all along, and that is that we are still slaves in America.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, and you walk and go on and exhaust your investigation of this and these things that we're about to tell you today, that black people in America, you got to go back to the Constitution, and we were marginalized constitutionally, because it hasn't been changed since we are still slaves. That 3/5 of a man scenario, and that we have no rights that a white man needs to respect. All of that is tied into the fact that black people in America specifically come under the War Powers Act. They come under the military.
Yeah.
And in coming under the military, we are dealt with from a military perspective. In essence, we are prisoners of war. So when you look at that, then you can sort of understand the behavior of the police forces and the political apparatus in the United States.
Right.
Even though you may see some black people in Congress or in the Senate or in business or whatever, it never really amounts to anything absolutely progressive as it relates to the development of our people as a people, because the social system is not designed to help develop us into a people.
Right.
And so that can also help you understand why they shoot black men. If two people walking down the street, black man and white man, both of them are carriers, licensed, right?
Yep.
They're gonna jack the black person up.
Why, man?
And take the person's gun.
Why? Why they doing that, man?
Because even though the person has jumped through all the hoops, the black person has jumped through all the hoops to get the license,
Yeah.
he's still a prisoner of war. Now, when you look at it in that context, then what you have to come to terms with, if he's a prisoner of war and he engages in an aggressive act against America, what does he become? He becomes a terrorist.
Absolutely.
So an armed slave.
Wow.
And I'll take y'all back to life when Martin and what's the other guy's name?
Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, and Eddie Murphy, they were trying to teach. The warden was trying to teach Eddie Murphy a lesson because he continued trying to escape.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And they were standing there, and he said, "Look, no, he was reprimanding Martin, and he told him, he said, well, look, I want you to hold this gun, and if he moves off them bottles, shoot him. And
Right.
if you shoot him, I'll walk you right out the door to freedom." And what did Eddie Murphy say to him?
What?
Eddie Murphy said, "Boss, if you was to give me that gun, I'm liable to shoot you." And remember, he said, the warden said, "Wrong answer."
Wrong answer.
So he wound up on the bottles with Martin.
Right.
Right. That's how they rekindled their relationship, because they hadn't talked for years. They'd fallen out. But my whole point was that arms in the hands of black men is not what they want.
Same thing like it was in the time of the Egyptians. Remember, they said, man, let's deal wisely with these people, because they may join in with some other folks that don't like us, and they're more outnumbered and mightier than us, and man, we'll end up having trouble on our hands.
Now, see, that's the psychology. That's part of the psychology of war. Anybody who goes into war and sees actions comes back damaged.
Yeah.
And most of the time irreparably.
Wow.
No matter how many services. And what the veterans, especially black veterans, found out is when they came back from war, they were all messed up, but the Veterans Administration that was supposed to be taking care of them wasn't taking care of them by design. Because the people that you send to war are the people, your undesirables, and those who are your strongest, to get them out of the way or to neutralize them.
Yeah.
That's the other aspect of war. It's not just to fight wars, but it's to debilitate the people who participate in the warfare. So you're psychologically messed up, and you get back, your messed up psychology messes up your sociology.
Makes
Which
sense.
means it affects your family, friends, relationships, and all of that. So, arms in the hands of black people is not what they desire. Even though, and you saw that, because even though the brothers in a couple of these stops, police stops, even though the brothers said that they had license to carry,
Brother Casilla, yeah.
to the police officer, that was the worst case scenario. So in one of those cases, the police officer was scared himself, double talking or whatever,
Yep.
and confused the driver. Confused the brother that had
Weapon.
the weapon. So at one point, the guy said he thought he was told to get out the car, but it really wasn't told to get out the car. But in that confusion, the police officer goes to his comfort zone, and his comfort zone was to shoot.
Yeah.
Ask questions later. Now, why are we bringing all this up in the context of building our own world? It's because I wanted to show you that you are the only culture that comes under the War Act. And why?
That's a good question.
And the reason why is because you are an enemy of the state. And even though they're housing you here, using you, they use you to build their treasure cities and all that kind of stuff, they can't afford for you to be free in the world. Because you got information.
Right.
You've been to their schools, you've been to the higher realms of learning and understanding, and got skills and all of that. That's why they're not really trying to foster relationships between African Americans and Africans. And at another time, we'll break all of that down. But what I wanted to do was to give you something that you can research yourself. sort of self-starts you in looking at the reality of what exists, not the illusion, not the cars, not the houses, not the clothes, not the jewelry, but the actual structure of the world in which you live in, and how it affects you and how it is affected by you that causes the behavior that they have against you.
That's good.
So when we're talking about building a world, like right now, we're looking at this plane flying above us, and everybody would assume that that streak that's coming out of that plane is exhaust from the burning of the fuel, but it's not. That's right. We're talking about illusion. It's just funny that this is happening while we're talking about dealing with reality and illusion. The illusion is that what's coming out of that plane is exhaust.
Right.
But you done seen the planes fly before. They don't have no exhaust.
It's true.
So that's not exhaust. That's what they call chemtrails.
Right.
And it's a combination of